Good. All right, so tonight we are dealing with fasting as we are approaching Lent, which starts next Wednesday. And I don't know who's teaching on Lent this year, but somebody's going to teach on Lent, so we're not going to deal with that tonight. But we're just going to deal with fasting. We're going to be reading Isaiah 58, 14 verses that are in that chapter. We're going to deal with that. I'm going to be reading from the New Living Translation. I normally read from the King James Version, but I really like how the New Living Translation broke this down. So we're just dealing with the purpose of fasting. Now, fasting is something that's done repeatedly throughout the Bible. People fast with sackcloth and ashes because they're mourning. People fast for God's protection. People fast to get something from God. People fast prior to going into ministry. Now, while there are different manifestations, requests for fasting, there is one central theme for everybody when they're fasting, and that is, God, I need your power. So no matter what you're fasting for, no matter what you're fasting from, the central theme of fasting, or the purpose of fasting, is to receive the power of God. So the outcome of what people fast for might not line up, but the purpose for true fasting is always to give up your power in order to receive God's power. So when we're fasting, no matter what it is that you're fasting from, it's not so much focused on the thing that you've given up. It's you getting to a place where you are getting more connected with God. You're reading the Word more. You're praying more. You're just doing anything that's going to connect you with God more as you're giving up whatever it is. So say, maybe you gave up television. That doesn't mean just, be on social media for the time that you was on television, watching television. So now you're supposed to use some of that time in order for you to grow closer to God. So we're not going to deal with what to fast for or what to fast from. We're just going to fully understand the whole purpose of fasting. So now, like I said, we're reading in Isaiah 58. And when we come to Isaiah 58, we find people who are fasting, but their fast is not accepted by God. So they're going through the action, and fasting is like almost nothing to them. There's no problem for them to go ahead and fast, and for them to give up the food that they were eating, and not to eat till sundown, and they were doing that, but God didn't accept it. And we have to be very, very careful. Like how would it feel for us to know that I'm giving up something, but what I'm giving up is not even being accepted by God? And God is going to, through this chapter, really deal with some things, because if you don't have that central theme or central purpose of fasting, it ain't even no need for you to be fasting, because God is not even going to be accepting what it is that you're giving up, because you're not fasting for the right reasons. So when we fast, or we don't have the total purpose, because again, you can be fasting for different reasons. I might be fasting because I want a new house. I want to just get closer to God to be able, for God to bless me. Or I might be fasting because I just want to get closer in the Spirit to be able to manifest my gift, manifest my gift more. But so what you're fasting for it can be different, but still the purpose is to connect with God and give up your power for His. So now, thinking about actions not being accepted, the first thing I look at is Cain and Abel. Because they both had actions, they both brought something to God, but Cain's was not accepted. And God said to Cain when he felt some kind of way, "Why are you sad? Don't you know if you do well, you'll be accepted?" And by saying do well, He's not talking about the actual action, but the condition of Cain's heart. Because Cain did bring an offering to God. Abel brought an offering to God, but Abel's heart was right and Cain's heart wasn't. So because his heart wasn't right, he wasn't bringing the right stuff to God. So even though he had an action, like we'll have an action of fasting, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be receiving that power or that we're even looking for it. And too often when we fast, all we're focusing on is what we're giving up. It's just that if we give enough food, I'm hungry. Or we give up TV, I missed my show. And we're just thinking about the thing that we're giving up. And we're not realizing what it is that we are supposed to be receiving. So he says, if you do well, you'll be accepted. And the word translated as do well is shatav, which depicts your relationship or connection with God showing forth in your actions, not your actions showing your connection to God. And so often, just like these Pharisees and the people that he's dealing with here, they thought that their actions were showing their connection to God, but God knows the difference. So when he said you would do well, if you are fully connected to me, then that's going to show in your actions. And we're going to be able to do what God wants because we love him and not because we're scared of him. Not because it's against the law, not because it's against the Bible, but because we have a love and respect for him and we want to please him. So our actions can be one way, but our heart can be totally different. And this is what we have to really focus on when we're fasting. So our connection with God is going to show forth in our action, not our actions showing our connection to God. And the two are not interchangeable. And God knows the difference between us doing something because we love him and just doing it for show. Or doing it because we want to be seen. Or doing it so we can just say, oh, are you having trouble fasting? It's nothing for me. Or or a position. You just want to be a preacher because you want to be up in front of everybody else. You don't really want to edify nobody. You don't really want to take part in helping somebody grow, helping somebody mature. You just want to be seen. And so now we're going to start in Isaiah 58. Again, I'm reading. I got the regular King James up right now. Let me change that. I'm looking at it like, I was able to say this. Verse 1, shout with the voice of a trumpet blast. Shout aloud. Don't be timid. Tell my people Israel of their sins. Yet they act so pious. They come to the temple every day and seem delighted to learn about me. They act like a righteous nation that will never abandon the law of its God. They ask me to take action on their behalf, pretending they want to be near me. Now that is just scary right there for God to ever have come to a place where he's talking about me and tell me I'm pretending. So right now this gives us an imagery of a people who look like they got it all together and are doing everything right, yet God says they're pretending. And that's because, as we're going to go further on, their purpose for fasting was not right. And we have to get out of religious practices and understand the purpose of why we do what we do. And Peter tells us always have a reason or an explanation for why you believe what you believe. So we should always know the more in-depth thing. So we might be fasting for Lent, might not even know what Lent is, where Lent started from, and then don't even know what fasting really is. So it's like, what's my purpose of fasting? I don't know. They told me from Lent to Easter we fast, and that's what I'm doing. And I put my ash on my forehead on Ash Wednesday, and we walk around and everybody see it. But we don't understand the true purpose of fasting. And again, the purpose is giving up your power in order to receive his power. So it's more than giving up that thing that you gave up. It's giving up your whole power of life in order to receive his power. And to walk and live in the power of God is a whole lot better than our little measly power in the first place. Verse 3. And this is what they're saying to God. We have fasted before you, they say. Why aren't you impressed? We have been very hard on ourselves, and you don't even notice it. I will tell you why, I respond. It's because you are fasting to please yourselves. Even while you fast, you keep oppressing your workers. So they say, why aren't you impressed? You can fast for a year straight and never receive the power of God because, truth be told, that was never your purpose. You can never receive what it is that God really has for you, what God really wants for you, or what God wants to come out of or produce from your fasting, because that wasn't even something that you wanted in the first place. All you wanted to do was just not eat, or not complain, or not watch television, or not be on social media. A lot of people do that. I'm going to delete my Twitter until Lent is over. That's all you wanted to do. But God is saying, this thing is totally different. So God gives two reasons why fasting is not accepted. One, you're doing it to please yourself. And two, the only thing you gave up is what you fasted from. So now, the first one is something rarely we see today. We don't really see anybody that's running around bragging about fasting. But the second one, that's what we're going to deal with right now. The only thing you gave up is what you fasted from. So he says to them, even while you fast, you keep oppressing your workers. So even while you're supposed to be getting close to me, you still don't look like you belong to me. Yes, you're not fast. Yes, you're fasting and you gave that thing up, but you're not walking in kingdom power. You're not walking in kingdom life. You're not doing any kingdom business. You're not edifying your spirit. You're not edifying your mind. You're not edifying your soul. You're not doing nothing to help nobody. All you gave up was the thing you gave up. And what you're supposed to be giving up is everything about you. You're supposed to be giving up the whole power of your flesh in order to take the power of the spirit, but all you gave up is what you gave up. So you gave up food, you hungry, you losing weight, but spiritually you haven't given up or gained one thing. Spiritually, you didn't, during this time of fasting, spiritually, you didn't really give up nothing spiritually, and more importantly, you didn't gain nothing. So now you fasted 40 days, fasting is over, what did you get? What happened during the time of this fasting? So I might just be excited. I lost weight. That's what I really want to do, Jesus. That's all. I got to fit back in these jeans. But we're supposed to be building ourselves up spiritually. We're supposed to be receiving something from God, and we're supposed to be giving up everything about us in order to grab what it is that he has for us. Now, while you fast, this is what he's saying, that while you fast, you're still acting in the power of the flesh when you're supposed to be giving up your powerful mind. So now, if we are fasting, but we are still acting like worldly people, we are still acting nasty and acting bitter, and we're not doing nothing in the church, we don't want to help out, we don't want to do nothing, we don't want to be kind to people, you're still living in the flesh when you're supposed to be giving up your flesh in order to receive my power. So now, my power, though the power of God is what gives us the ability to be able to conquer the flesh. Don't you want that? Yeah. So the power of God, or the power of the Holy Spirit, is what gives us the strength to be able to conquer the flesh. And he said, when you are fasting, you're supposed to be connecting with me and receiving my power. If you had my power, you wouldn't still be running around in your flesh like that. Because we can't beat our flesh on our own. You see, Paul said, man, who can save me from this wretched mess that I am? I thank God that through Jesus Christ, I have the power. I'm able to do this thing. But if only thing we're doing when we're fasting is just giving up something, we're not going to receive nothing. You just gave up whatever you gave up, and it didn't do anything for you. God wasn't able to do nothing for you either, because you just wasn't really willing to receive. Nor were you looking to receive, nor were you thinking about getting the power of God. All you thought about was, I just want to give up some stuff. Verse 4. No one cares about being, oh no, I done hit the button and went to 59. I'm like, I don't remember hearing that. What good is fasting when you keep on fighting and quarreling? This kind of fasting will never get you anywhere with me. Why are you going through the motions of something that makes you look like you love me, but the rest of your actions prove otherwise? So you're fasting. So these people, they were fasting, and they're walking around with their robes on and their ashes, and just letting everybody know that they were fasting. But the rest of their actions, they fasting, they doing all this to look holy. But then you ask them for something and they start cussing you out immediately. Mm-hmm. Or they, ask them for some help. You have the means, they have the means to help, but they don't want to give nothing. I'll pray for you. No, I already been praying. I need what you got. I need what you got. You won't help God's people, but you're supposed to be fasting. And I know I saw or know plenty of people who, were fasting. And, it's like they're not going to do nothing wrong until after they break fast. Right. I'm planning to do the wrong thing. It's like, no, I'm fasting right now, but at 8:30, if I see him, I'm going to kill him. But I ain't going to shoot him now because I'm fasting. And God's saying, this kind of fasting won't get you anywhere with me. If you're not going to allow this fast to change you, then it ain't no sense in you fasting. That kind of fasting means nothing to me, because fasting is supposed to do something in you and change you and mold you and create you to be more Christ-like. And we have to be, showing the love of God. We got to help God's people. How can we fast and say we're doing this because we love God? And the scripture says, how can you love God whom you have not seen, and you don't love your brother whom you have seen? So now you're being nasty and you're unforgiving and bitter and you just don't want to help nobody in the kingdom of God. But I'm fasting. I'm fasting though. You don't want to help in none of the ministries. You don't want to help further none of the kingdom. You don't want to tithe. You don't want to be on any of the ministries that are in the church or help anything out. But I'm fasting though. And this is what God is saying, that's not going to get you anywhere, because this thing is not about what you gave up. Now, fasting is strengthening our connection with God so his power can flow through us. The power of God is what helps us overcome our flesh. So if we're still exactly the same while we are fasting, then we need to check our connection. Are you really getting in tune with God through fasting? So your fasting is supposed to be, God was just showing me just a cord, going up to heaven. I think I had like when I was teaching the power of the word, I had like a Bible with a socket on it, with the plug going into it. So God was showing me that cord, and sometimes that cord is connected, and sometimes that cord is not. And a couple years ago, my brother had this truck, and sometimes the truck wouldn't start. And the reason why the truck wouldn't start was because the battery connection cable wasn't that good. So it was a little bit loose around the top post. I know, ladies, y'all ain't gonna know what that is.
I know what it is.
Oh! Explain it. Don't just say it. Explain it. Anyway, so on the top post, the thing it has to be connected, and the connection has to be sure. If it's not sure, then it's not getting the power to the truck for the truck to start. So whatever it was, I think the top post might have, been corroded a little. It was too small for the actual connection. So we would have to like jam something in there in order for the connection to be tight, and then the truck would start. So God was showing me that through fasting, you are shoring up your connection with me. This is what your purpose is. This is what you're fasting for, or the purpose of your fasting. And you're fasting for one thing, but the purpose still has to be to shore up your connection with him. And as you're shoring up your connection, that's when everything can start. That's when everything can get the moving. That's when the power can get the flowing. But if you're just fasting for whatever you're fasting for, and you gave up whatever you gave up, but you're not reconnecting and aligning with God, then you are missing the total point of fasting. And as he says, this kind of fasting won't get you anywhere with me. Verse 5. He says, you humble yourselves by going through the motions of penance. I just get like scared when I start reading this stuff like he's talking to me. Bowing your heads like reeds bending in the wind. You dress in burlap and cover yourselves with ashes. Is this what you call fasting? Do you really think this will please the Lord? Is this what you call fasting? If fasting to you is solely about giving up something, then you missed the whole purpose of fasting. Now they were doing the fast, y'all. They were doing it with no problem. And this is where we want to make sure we don't end up like these people, where we are actually doing it, but it don't mean nothing. I know I don't want to do nothing in life, and it don't mean nothing. It's like, I'll be watching like a basketball game or a football game or something, and a player go to shoot or throw the ball, but the coach prior called timeout, and the team scored or got the touchdown, and it don't count. It's like, that didn't count. It's like, I hit a shot from the other side of the court for nothing? Because you call timeout. I don't want anything that I'm doing, to not mean anything. And this is what God is really trying to, show us in this season, that I really need y'all to understand the purpose of fasting so you can really receive from your fasting. So as we go into Lent, start next week, we really got to really get this into our mind to understand that, what I'm doing, I'm fasting for this, but what I'm doing is shoring up my connection with God. I'm making sure that post is tight. That way that power can surge through him, from him, through me, and he's able to do what it is that he wants to accomplish in me. Verse 6. No, this is the kind of fasting I want. Free those who are wrongly imprisoned. Lighten the burden of those who work for you. Let the oppressed go free, and remove the chains that bind the people. Now, God shows us examples of true fasting, but what he describes looks more like fruit being bared from being close to him as opposed to the act of fasting, because the act is not God's concern.
Right.
So God says, listen, this is true fasting, and he don't name giving up nothing. He don't say, this is true fasting. Y'all not eating till 8. You're supposed to not eat till 9. He don't deal with any of that. He goes into something totally different, and is reminiscent of like the fruit of the Spirit. So he said, this is true fasting when these things are beginning to come out of you. Now in the King James Version it says, to loose the bands of wickedness. Fasting is going to give you the power to destroy whatever wickedness is around you, or to destroy whatever bondage or whatever yokes the enemy has on anything around you. Now, a man brought a demon-possessed boy to the disciples. The disciples couldn't heal him. Jesus came and said, man, y'all ain't got no faith. He healed the little boy, and the disciples said, Jesus, why we couldn't do that? He said, this type only comes out by prayer and fasting. So if y'all were fasting sometimes and getting that connection and getting that power, then you will have been able to loose the bands of the wickedness. You have been able to cast out that demon from that boy, but because you haven't been fasting, or they have not been fasting correctly, you don't have the power to do so. So God is saying, this is true fasting. True fasting is getting in connection with me, and then some power is going to come out to do some things. Fasting also gives you a different outlook that will cause you to lift the burdens off of others. Now, what type of burdens can we lift off of others or people that we know? We can lift up stigmas. We can lift off standards and expectations that we put on people, things that we expect them to do, and we're just putting it on them and just want them to be a certain way. God is saying, lift those things off of people. What he's saying, lighten the burden of those who work for you. Let the oppressed go free and remove the chains that bind people. So now your fasting is going to cause you to release people. Because we got some people in our lives that we are holding tight for whatever reason, whatever they might have done to us, whatever they might have said, however they might have looked at you. And now you're fasting. God is saying, you can't be running around fasting still harboring that stuff in your heart. Let them people go free. Let them people go, because again, with forgiveness, it ain't about them, it's about you. How are you building this connection with me, and you got all this stuff all in your heart in places where I should be? So now you are fasting, but yet you got places in your heart and in your life that you won't let me in. And again, fasting is giving up your power to receive his. So he said, I'm trying to get in there, but you won't let some stuff go. But this is true fasting. Verse 7. I just think keep doing this. Share your food with the hungry. And give shelter to the homeless. Give clothes to those who need them. And do not hide from relatives who need your help.
It do say that. It say that.
I can't add it. No, I mean, you can check me out. Yeah, so that's let y'all know. I call somebody, I'm family here. Well, I need a plate. I need something to eat. I need some money to get a pair of sneakers, whatever. Don't you hide from me. Don't hide. God be knowing this stuff. Don't hide from your family members. True fasting makes you more godlike, not irritable because you gave up something.
Wow. That's good. Oh, that's new.
I should have.
Yeah,
I messed up. I was
Do it again.
Give a signal so Deuce can zoom in when I say something deep. So, what did I say? Oh, true fasting makes you more godlike, not irritable. So he's talking about true fasting, and then he starts to name all this other stuff that we probably would have never thought. I know I didn't until I was studying. It's like, wow, God, you really just opening my mind to something totally new. Because when I think fasting, all I think is, all right, I'm going to give this up. And God is like, no, I'm going to show you true fasting, and it ain't going to have nothing to do with what you're giving up. Yeah, you're giving it up, but you ought to be trying to receive my power and giving up yours. Verse 8. Then your salvation will come like the dawn, and your wounds will quickly heal. Your godliness will lead you forward, and the glory of the Lord will protect you from behind. Now, in the King James, it says, the glory of the Lord will be your rare reward, which means bring together. So now, when you truly fast and let the power of God work through you to do the things of God, God will then bring everything together for you. So now you've understood the purpose of fasting. You're exhibiting true fasting. Now you can get what you're fasting for. So now we started out with I'm fasting for whatever. But I understand that my true purpose of fasting is just to make sure I'm connected with God. So he's saying now, he says, your salvation will come like the dawn, and your wounds will quickly heal. Your godliness will lead you forward, and the glory of the Lord will protect you from behind, or will bring everything together in your life. So once we really get in tune with God, and once we are allowing our connection to be sure, and letting that power come from him and through us, then we're going to do all those things that God explained was true fasting. And so after we do what it is that God wants to do through us, then God got you. So now God is going to be able to give you that thing that you are actually fasting for, because you are letting fasting do what it's supposed to do. And that reminds me of James when he talks about, let patience have its perfect work in you. So now God is saying to us, let fasting have its perfect work in you. Let fasting do what it's supposed to do, connect you, show you my power, show you my will, cause you to do different things, cause you to see different things. And now once the fasting has worked its course in you, now I'm going to give you what you was fasting for. Now I'm able to give you that thing. Verse 9 and 10. Then when you call, the Lord will answer. Yes, I am here. He will quickly reply. Remove the heavy yoke of oppression. Stop pointing your finger and spreading vicious rumors. Feed the hungry again and help those in trouble. Then your light will shine out from the darkness, and the darkness around you will be as bright as noon. So fasting has now, or proper fasting, has now made your connection with God so strong that every time you call on him, he quickly responds. So now you're so connected, your relationship with him is totally different now through your fasting, or through the proper purposeful fasting. So now I'm connected with God a whole lot more than I was before, where I was so estranged and I was so distant, and I only plugged in when I came to church, or I only plugged in when I came to Bible study. But now through fasting, I'm plugged in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now my connection is just so strong. It's just like God, hello? It's just that fast. Now, I'm not waiting for the response forever. I'm not sitting there, now I got to quote, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. I got to wait, and again I say wait. No, now you are connected to the point like Jesus was, where you just come to a place that's dead in your life and just say, move the stone, Lazarus, arise, and Lazarus comes forth. This is what the power of fasting is. This is what it is, because it now connects us and causes us to live in a different realm of the spirit. It causes us to live in a different power. It causes us to have a whole nother mindset, because we know we're connected. And we can, not only do we know we're connected, but we can feel connected. Have you ever touched the street poles? The electric poles? Like hanging, I don't know, what are they called?
The wood joint?
Yeah.
Electric.
I know they got just electric pole, I had it right? That's what I'm calling it, electric pole. When you grab it, you can feel the electric. The electric ain't even going to the pole. The electric is up on the wire. But the power is so strong, you can feel it on the pole. Now, if you grab the wire, it'll probably kill you. But that's just an example of feeling the power. So that's what fasting does. Fasting puts you in a place where you can feel the power of God. So now, if you feel the power of God, then you can exhibit the power of God. But now, also, this thing is conditional. Because he tells you he's going to quickly reply, but then he goes right back and says, remove the heavy yoke of oppression, stop pointing your finger and spreading vicious rumors, feed the hungry and help those in trouble. Then your light will shine out from the darkness, and the darkness around you will be bright as noon. So now that you are properly fasting, you are allowing the fasting to cause you to do kingdom work and help people, and you're allowing the fasting to change you, because you don't want to still be just as nasty as you were during fasting as you were before fasting. So now he's saying, once you do all that, I'm going to give you what you fasted for, but he said, I'm going to make every dark place in your life like noon. This is true. This is true fasting. I'm going to make every dark place in your life look like noon. Verse 11. The Lord will guide you continually, giving you water when you are dry, and restoring your strength. You will be like a well-watered garden, like an ever-flowing spring. And look at this image that God is giving us here. This is what your connection is going to do. God is going to guide you continually. He's going to give you water when you are dry. He didn't say, I'm going to give you water when you ask. I'm just going to be able to see when you need it, and I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to restore all your strength. I know you gave up something and it was hard and you was getting kind of weak, but I'm going to restore your strength. You will be like a well-watered garden, like an ever-flowing spring. And you're not just going to be like a garden. You're going to be like a well-watered garden. And that just symbolizes something that is being fed every single thing that it needs. And this is what God is saying. This is what's going to happen from fasting when you do it right. As long as you understand the purpose of fasting, as long as you are giving up your power in order to receive my power, I'm going to cause you to be like a well-watered garden. And I know some of us, whatever we're fasting from, sometimes we might get weak. And this is assuring right here for God to say, listen, if you are doing this thing right, I'm going to be your strength. I'm going to help you through this. I'm going to give you the power. And I know, from fasting sometimes, I might have been fasting till 5 o'clock. 4 o'clock, we'll be like, oh, Jesus, my stomach my ribs is touching. I'm so hungry, I'm weak. I just can't move. But God said, I'm going to be your strength. And one thing I learned, through fasting is, whenever I start to feel those hunger pains, they became triggers. They became triggers to read my word. They became triggers to meditate on my word. They became triggers to pray. So every time I felt that, I began to connect myself with God. And that's what God is saying. Listen, you're giving something up, but every time you notice you want it, it's supposed to send you to me. Because you got to understand your purpose here. So every time you have that hunger pain, or every time you want to hit that Twitter app and log on, it should be a trigger to remind you what you're fasting, or the purpose of true fasting,